Retards. Science and math. Fun science poll. U. Body temperature 37°C. Touch each of the following three objects. Which one feels the coldest? 1. Styrofoam at -196°C. 2. Steel at 0°C. 3. Diamond at 20°C. Assume all of these objects are the same size relative to your fingertip. You aren't touching a gigantic steel plate and then a teeny little diamond, and that you're only touching them for a second or two. Styrofoam. Retards. My body feels the coldest. Styrofoam at that temperature has frozen water from the surrounding air on it. That will instantly freeze your finger. Fun fact. Trip fags are emotionally insecure and require validation through attention. Either get to a therapist or bleep off back to play, but either way you're the next entry in attention whoring plebiters filter. Hello, Sigh. Since I've been a small child I've always had the desire to become a scientist. However, now that I've almost finished my first year of uni I'm starting to have doubts. Every single professor I've met or otherwise person in the field has just seemed to me to be hateful. They always make the kind of snarky comments that come from people that are deeply frustrated with the world. Am I inevitably going to become so bitter if I pursue a career in science? I didn't sign up for this. Bitterness is a sign of intelligence in this mad world. Wear it like a trophy. Am I inevitably going to become so bitter if I pursue a career in science? It depends a lot on where you end up. I'm in academia right now, totally feel the same. Publish or perish made scientific publishing a joke. You need to do grant farming for sheer survival. You also need to kiss a lot of asses if you want to do some serious research. You will also have to spend a long time being a slave in a lab for some endeavors, depending on which path of science you choose. The only non-bitter profs I know are idealistic physics profs and rich engineering profs who sucked a lot of bleep to get where they are and aren't ashamed of themselves. I'm not saying you won't make it or that you will become bitter 100%. But it's a bitter reality aspiring scientists like you have to face. Academia is bleak. Starts Instagram call. Hi friend online. He sends friends live. Asks how universe started. Big Bang.mob. Suddenly becomes atheist. Existential crisis. Stephen Hawking level theories. LMOP. Leaves abruptly. Call ends. WTF happened to this board? Did B and Hol invade at some point? Yes. Also norms. That's the deconstructor of you. No. For several reasons. Most obviously, the half-life for uranium is billions of years, and at ordinary rates of inflation. The half-life of paper currency is usually between 2 to 35 years, depending on the currency. In my experience, only people from the 4th and 5th rows actually exist. But bleep are those accurate? I have ascended beyond the compass. Where do I fit in? Does happiness and being not prone to boredom correlate with high intelligence? You can be angry and sad and still be diligent. KEK. For very high intelligence, yes. For moderate intelligence, no. Anon, I have terrible news. TFW 129. I'm talking sources. Real facts. Not your opinions and BCUZ Science XD, leaped from the other thread. You can't claim something is false and offer no counter-evidence. What specific points made in the documentary are false and back it up. And also that corporations, billionaires have co-opted the environmental movement for profit. He said 14 years after an inconvenient truth came out. What's your point? Every major hurricane that has occurred in the last 14 years happened after he released his film. Every major hurricane that has occurred in the last 14 years happened after he released his film. What's your point? By thunder. What's yours? I see. Thanks a lot. What is the mathematical probability one gets to inhabit your or mine body? I could have gotten the first-person view, or what is called couscousness, from your body or you from mine. Before even approaching that question, you'd have to define I and my body. Both are deeply philosophical questions, and couldn't be concretely answered in a way that would let us use math to calculate a probability. Also, 1 in 86. Body equals ability to move the avatar around. My equals head first person view. Your equals third person view denied privilege access to. Anyone else singing up for cryonics once they can afford it? Water expands when frozen. Cryonics would irreparably damage your brain. Whoever would wake up after being unfrozen? It wouldn't be you. Cryonics is done with liquid nitrogen, not water. Dying and instantly waking up in the future sounds great. I doubt it's going to work though. Taking sociology class and have to do a research paper. I want to compare the rate of transgender identity in Hollywood versus the general public. Not just the US general population but also countries with historical openness to transgender identity. My hypothesis is that celebrities have a much higher chance to have a child that is transgender. What is interesting is that their adopted children seem to be highly affected as well. I want to explore how it is possible that both biological and non-biological children adopted from many regions all over the world can all share an increased incidence of transgender identity. We were taught in my sociology class that transgender people are born that way. If that is actually true, how does it account for the increased incidence of transgender identity in Hollywood, especially when you take away the genetic component by looking at adopted children? I was not able to find any research papers written about Hollywood celebrity transgender children. I had to make this paper as scientifically sound as possible so that my SJW professor doesn't fail me for questioning the born that way theory they claim is fact. Any ideas? Any ideas? Simple. Being trans is currently du jour sur bleep kids it. Before they were just bleep, but now they are trans. That's all. If you looked at the stats of bleep to hetero population, there would be no deviance. It would match up exactly because we're only talking about trends. In 10 years there will be 1/4 as many trans as there are now, like there was 10 years ago, because only a small amount of the population is into body modification unless it's politically trendy at the time. Well, your guess is stupid then. Not everyone is a bleep in waiting. Transgender research. Let's add more random invented concepts and see if they make even less sense. I'll start. Transgender climate research. And when provided with some of the responses from other physicists regarding his work, Wolfram is singularly unenthused. I'm disappointed by the naivete of the questions that you're communicating, he grumbles. I deserve better. Bump. Dat automata though. Based dick pic related. From Anon in Amazon. A new kind of review. By a reader. I can only imagine how fortunate you must feel to be reading my review. This review is the product of my lifetime of experience in meeting important people and thinking deep thoughts. This is a new kind of review, and will no doubt influence the way you think about the world around you and the way you think of yourself. Bigger than infinity. Although my review deserves thousands of pages to articulate, I am limiting many of my deeper thoughts to only single characters. I encourage readers of my review to dedicate the many years required to fully absorb the significance of what I am writing here. Fortunately, we live in exactly the time when my review can be widely disseminated by internet technology and stored on digital media, allowing current and future scholars to delve more deeply into my original and insightful use of commas, numbers, and letters. My place in history. My review allows, for the first time, a complete and total understanding not only of this but every single book ever written. I call this the principle of book equivalence. Future generations will decide the relative merits of this review compared with, for example, the works of Shakespeare. This effort will open new realms of scholarship. More about me. I first began writing reviews as a small child, when my talent was clearly apparent to those around me, including my mother. She preserved my early writings which, although simpler in structure, portend elements of my current style. I include one of them below, which I call Review 30, to indicate the scholarly pedigree of the document now in your hands or on your screen or committed to your memory. The guy who wrote the book is also the publisher of the book. I guess he's the only person smart enough to understand what's in it. When I'm older I too will use a vanity press. Then I can write all the pages I want. It is staggering to contemplate that all the great works of literature can be derived from the letters I use in writing this review. I am pleased to have shared him with you, and hereby grant you the liberty to use up to 20 of them consecutively without attribution. Any use of additional characters in print must acknowledge this review as source material since it contains, implicitly or explicitly, all future written documents